Well, I've been messing around with this trying to get some decent lighting, which is really hard in the kitchen. And it's 6:25 p.m., so the sun is low in the sky and it produces shadows on my face. And I don't have any supplemental lighting in the kitchen, so this is it. I want it to be better because I want this to be a special video. On our other channel, we have been discussing Granny Pat. So many of us love watching her channel, and if you don't, you must. She is the most delightful lady, and she cooks, she's written a cookbook, she does everything, she collects everything. Oh my goodness, to be her. She's still collecting. I'm trying to downsize. And I think, why? Why am I doing that? She has a daughter about my age, and they travel together, and I think, oh, how wonderful that would be. How wonderful it would be if I had my mother to travel with. Now, just the fact that I mentioned my mom, I'm not crying. I have the worst allergies. It has been so beautiful here. Let me look at the temperature. It's 88 degrees. In mid-August, can you imagine? It's just, we've been having Chamber of Commerce weather, but always when I suffer the worst is the change of seasons. When it first starts warming up in the spring and when it first starts cooling off. So when Granny Pat cooks on her channel, she uses recipes from her cookbook. She has her own published cookbook, Make Mine the Blue Plate Special, and you can get it on Amazon. I will put a link in the description box, and I really recommend this as a supplement to her channel. And today I'm going to make the she crab soup. She's made it on her channel, and also Colonel Steve Ritter made she crab soup, and his recipe was very, very similar to Pat's, although he added dill. So I'm going to put a little dill in mine. I don't have any fresh dill. My dill burned up. I've got some more started inside, but my dill out in the garden burned up. Anyway, I want to tell you something really interesting about this. I ordered this book on July 18th for delivery July 20th with the free 2-day delivery. This book was printed in Las Vegas on July 19th. How fantastic is that? But she has lots of recipes and stories to go along with them. There's a darling picture of her on the back. And anyway, I cannot tell you how much I love and admire this woman. And I hope, Granny Pat, that you get a chance to see this video and know how much I appreciate you, and so many of my viewers do as well. Now let me tell you something else interesting. Granny Pat collects, among many other things, she collects Fostoria American glassware. Let me show you a piece that I thought was so unusual. I got it thrifting. When I first envisioned making this video, I was going to ask Pat if she knew what this was. Fortunately, I've been watching her back catalog, and she has one too, and told all about it. Of course, I thought it was a candle holder, and that's what I use it for. This is an electric candle. It's not on right now because it's on a timer. But you see how the bottom is, and here's the top, and it fits together like this. And of course I thought it was a candle holder. It looks like a rose bowl, but of course you can't use that. Well, you could only put water in the very bottom. You couldn't use it as a rose bowl because of the opening here. Pat explained what it was, and I just couldn't believe it. I mean, I believe everything she says, but I just couldn't believe this. She said it's called a hair receiver. That women would save their hair from their brushes and combs and put it in this, and it was called a hair receiver. Well, I know she tells some stories, but I thought she might be pulling my leg on that. I looked it up. That's exactly what it is. And this one was shown on Google as well as a bunch of other examples. And this was a tool that women in the Victorian era had on their dressing tables, and they saved all their hair. One of the things it mentioned was for making pin cushions, for using human hair on dolls, and even using it to fashion some hair accessories. So that's what they did, and they had a lot of examples that were glass and even crystal with silver tops that were open, just gorgeous. But I thought I was going to stump you with something, and too bad it was ordinary. But she loves thrifting, as do I. I've been trying to stay out of the shops because I'm trying to get rid of things. But anyway, thank you, Pat, for the information on this. And thank you so much for your channel. Now, let's get going on the she crab soup. Now, in the book and on her video, the recipe starts out with sauteing diced carrot, celery, and onion. It didn't say anything about adding any oil. So I'm going to just take poetic license and add a little bit of my garlic oil. I chopped my carrot, onion, and celery in the food processor. Now this is the second time I've made the recipe because I wanted to make sure it would turn out, and I loved it. But in the end, my vegetables weren't quite as soft as I wanted them to be because, of course, with the crab and the sauce, everything's really, I had some kind of crunchy bits. So I'm just going to put a little bit of water in to get these going. Is this called a mirepoix? These three? Carrot, celery, and onion? I'm not sure, but I know somebody will tell me. AE, tell me what it is. And all you good cooks out there, somebody will tell me. I know it's not the Trinity. The Trinity has the bell pepper, right? Bell pepper, carrot and onion, or bell pepper, celery, and onion. I don't know. But now the recipe calls for sherry, and I did go buy some sherry. I usually have it around the holidays, and it's always for a fish dish. I make a lot of different fish dishes, especially around Christmas. And sherry is a really good flavor with fish. Call for a 1/4 cup. I'm going to use a little bit more. I'm going to use a 1/3 cup. Because so much of it will evaporate. And this also gives it an opportunity to cook off all the alcohol. The other thing is garlic. The dogs are going nuts in here. I had some chicken thighs in the refrigerator that I needed to cook. So I just put them on a baking sheet with oil and Mrs. Dash and roasted them. And they smell really good. But I don't know what I'm going to do. I just feel uninspired. Ever since I've been taking this Manjaro, it's been 3 weeks now, and my blood sugar has been fantastic. So I know a lot of people are using it for a weight loss drug, and I can attest to its power there, but also as far as controlling my diabetes. It's just been wonderful. And I haven't had any, I have not had any highs since I've been on it, and I haven't had any lows. I mean, unusual lows like you can get with insulin. So I'm going to use 2 cloves of garlic. Now you saw me grate that, but I also stuck in the 2 little nibs that were left over. So Roy and I both love garlic, and I always put them in because then they're a little special treat for whoever finds them. I'm using my Sweet Friend spatula from my sweet friend Denise. And you all know Denise H. She is such a sweet friend. You know, she lost a dog not too long ago. And they re-dogged. They have a new dog who's just gorgeous. She's been sending me pictures, and I'm absolutely in love. So for now, I'm going to just switch out these burners. I'm going to keep this over here on very low. In fact, I might add just a little bit more water. Okay, this is a cream soup, so it starts with a roux, which is equal parts of fat and flour. I'm using butter. Pretty sure Pat used butter as well. So I've got a 1/4 cup, which is 4 tablespoons of butter to a 1/4 cup of flour. Now we don't want any color on this at all. This is a blonde roux. Okay, through editing some time has passed, but you definitely want to cook this a few minutes. They say to cook out the taste of the raw flour. So I've got it on a very low temperature because I don't want any color on this. It's nice and smooth. Now Pat's recipe calls for 1 cup of heavy cream and 3 cups of milk. Well, that's about as close to half and half. So I'm going to use some half and half, and actually in her video, I'm pretty sure Pat used half and half as well. I hear Roy doing some vacuuming. He's upstairs watching the news. 4 cups is 1 quart, so another easy measure. I don't do a lot of measuring, and I get the feeling Pat doesn't either. That's kind of how it is when you cook. I usually use a recipe one time, the first time, then figure out any changes I want to make, and then I just make it from my head. I like very much that Pat makes herself healthy meals at home. Now she does like to go out to Kentucky Fried Chicken. Everybody needs a little vice. Oh, I used to love fried chicken when I was a kid. And no one at home fried, my grandmother didn't fry chicken, nor did my mom. I don't think my mom ever fried anything. So we would go out to Kentucky Fried Chicken occasionally. One time when I was a teenager, of course, I always volunteered to run any errands, so I had the opportunity to drive and hope my friends would see me driving. I just felt so cool out driving, so I must have been 16. So I went down and got the chicken, and this is when they still gave you the chicken in the bucket. They may still do that in some parts of the country. I haven't seen a bucket in a long time. They just put it in a box. But I went and got a family meal. There were 6 of us. And in getting everything all situated, I put the chicken on the top of the car. Well, you already know where this store is going. So I got everything else in the car, the rolls and any other little packages. I guess only the chicken was in the bucket. I got all the other accoutrements in the car. And sure enough, I took off with the bucket on the top of the car. And as I was driving out of the parking lot, and all the cars kept honking at me. And I'd look and I would see that they were honking at me, and they would point. And I didn't know what it was. I just thought, well, they must be acknowledging how cool I looked driving. The minute I got up to speed, of course, the chicken was everywhere, all over the road. And I had to go home. Now, mind you, this was a treat. We didn't eat out or get takeout very often. I had a working mom, and we were on a budget, and I hated to go home and tell her what I'd done. I was just absolutely terrified. And of course, I didn't have any money to go back and replace it. But I had to drive home and take everything in and tell her what I'd done. And bless her heart, she didn't yell at me. She said, things like that happened. I've done it before myself. And fortunately had some more money to give me and let me go back again and drive and get some more chicken. My brothers never forgot, but they got a bonus because they got double mashed potatoes and gravy and rolls and everything. I think, I don't remember, maybe I was able to just replace the chicken. Now, of course, this time is when you would put in salt and pepper. I don't use any salt, especially with the crab. I think it's going to be salty, so I am just going to use pepper. I know a lot of cookbooks say to use white pepper when you're making a white sauce, but I don't really like the taste of white pepper. I don't think it tastes like pepper, and the little black flakes certainly don't bother me at all. And you just want to slowly bring this back to the simmer. And I know most of you know, but I might have a new cook or two here. When you're making a sauce or anything that you use a thickener, when it comes back to the bubble, it's reached its thickest consistency that it's ever going to be. So that's what we're going to do here, and I'm going to keep a good eye on it because I certainly don't want it to scorch or anything like that. Keeping an eye on my veg here. I've got it on a real low temp, and it hasn't dried out, but I can't see any liquid, and I do want to make sure that these veg cook until they're very soft. Okay, I've got this at a simmer. So let me turn it down as low as I can get. I'm on my big burner here, just because I can get that closest to the camera. But in everyday cooking, I hardly ever use the big burner. I use the small and the extra small. Pat describes herself as a picky eater, and she is. She didn't think she liked shellfish until she had this soup, and the story she tells, you'll read it or hear it on her video, is she was at a point where there weren't a lot of choices and she just needed something to eat, and this is what was available. And it turns out she loved it. She loved it enough to continue make it and put it in her cookbook. Now I'm going to taste it at this point just to see if I want to add any Mrs. Dash. It's pretty good. It doesn't taste like anything, which is what you would expect. Now I'm going to add a few other ingredients. I think Pat added this to the diced vegetables. I'm pretty sure she did, but for no particular reason, I'm going to go ahead and add it to my sauce. And it was a dash or two of Worcester sauce. Maybe a little more. I can tell that I like things spicier than Pat. And then hot sauce, and I'm pretty sure she's used Tabasco. And I don't have any Tabasco. I have just the Louisiana hot pepper sauce, and I also have some harissa. I haven't decided yet, but you know, the time is here. I need to decide. You know, if I were not making the video, I think I would use harissa, but I'm going to use this Louisiana hot pepper sauce because it's something that most people have in their kitchen. And this is not in the recipe. This is my secret ingredient. You know, I've already used our other favorite YouTube cook. I've already used her secret ingredient, the Worcester sauce. I'm going to use a half a teaspoon of this Dijon mustard that I end up putting in just about everything I make. I think it just goes with everything. It sharpens the flavor of anything else you're using. Now, Colonel Ritter used fresh dill in his. That was really the only difference. I'm going to use some dried dill. While I prepare the crab, I'm just going to turn this off at this point. I can see that it's pretty thick. I looked at a lot of recipes, and some recipes even called for chicken broth or more milk. I have both. I have more milk, I have half and half, but I do have, I think I will add chicken broth. Now, I hope Granny Pat won't mind if I stray too much from the recipe. My regular viewers know that I always have homemade chicken broth because my dogs eat chicken. Now, for us, we only use free-range chicken, but the dogs eat sweatshop chicken, as I call it. hate to buy it. Well, okay, I was getting ready to preach. I'm not going to do that. Not going to preach about the food industry. And the other thing, the beauty of having my own chicken broth is it's not low sodium, it's no sodium. Okay, I think that's more the consistency of this soup. Now here's my crab. When I made it the first time, I made it with canned crab, and Pat used canned crab, and so did Steve, Colonel Ritter. And it was good, but I didn't buy very high quality crab. I didn't read the ingredients, and there were no lumps in it. It was all very, very fine, so it just kind of disappeared. It had the flavor of crab, but you didn't see any crab in the soup, and I'm sure you can buy much higher quality canned crab than I did, but I didn't pay attention. I didn't read the labels, and then when I did read the label, it was not from USA, and I only eat fish and shellfish that is wild caught from the USA, or occasionally we love the Mexican shrimp. But this is wild caught from USA, and you can see all the nice lumps. Now I'm going to put it on a plate just to make sure I don't see any shells. I'm sure there are wonderful seafood shops here in Las Vegas, but I haven't found them yet. Of course, I haven't looked. I found a real good market a couple of years ago at Christmas, but I didn't know my way around Las Vegas then. That was when this was just our vacation home, and to this day, I don't know the name of it or where it was, but it was an absolutely wonderful fresh fish market. Now I'm just breaking this up a little bit, because I mean that's the point. You still want some nice lumps. I don't feel one bit of shell. Now I would say this is pretty high quality, even though it's vacuum packed in that little jar. I'll not use the whisk anymore, so as not to break up. Roy was really happy when he heard I was making this soup again. I've never been able to pass soup off as a meal. It just, and his dad, same way. Soup is not a meal. It's a part of a meal. Unless we're having cabbage soup, he will eat cabbage soup for a meal, and that's something that I always have in the refrigerator. Except right now I haven't been cooking, and I'm starving the poor man. He's finished all the leftovers that I had. I've been taking that Manjaro. We talked about it on the other channel. Many people are taking Manjaro for weight loss, and it's excellent for that. I can attest to, and I told you it already is wonderful at controlling the diabetes, and that's why I take it. But it just kills your appetite. I just don't feel hungry. Just don't feel hungry at all. In fact, I didn't have anything at all yesterday, and probably the day before I only had a couple of Triscuits. It really bothers Roy when I don't eat. Probably brings him back to when I was really sick. When I first became ill with my disease, I was not hungry at all. And finally, my sweet next door neighbor, who is Jewish, made some matzo ball soup, and she made it all fresh. She started with a chicken. She even found low sodium matzo mix. And I was so happy. And I ate a whole cup. I was in bed all the time then, so I had it in a cup. I had a cup full, and it was so delicious. And Roy just kept encouraging me, oh, have another one, have another. And so I did. And he told her how wonderful it was to see me eat. In fact, she made it several more times for me. She was one of the neighbors that left after Hurricane Harvey. They sold their house and didn't come back, but they wanted to move to another part of the city where they were closer to her daughter anyway. Okay, so I've added the vegetables now and all these seasonings, so let me taste it now for seasonings. Oh, absolutely delicious. What a difference the crab makes. Now, don't not make this soup if you can't get nice lump crab meat, because it was really good with the canned crab. But this is really good. This tastes like a restaurant soup, which is where Pat first had it. Now, I really had to laugh when I heard Pat say this. She is a collector, and she's drawn to things that are double-handled. I'm drawn to any kind of jug. Gravy boats, creamer, large, it doesn't matter. If it has a handle and a spout, that's what I'm drawn to. So I completely understood when she said that. Now, the last time I made this, I fiddled with the seasonings. But from watching a lot of Pat's recipes, I can see that I just like things. We like things on the spicy side. So this time I knew to use more Worcester sauce, more hot sauce. And you don't even taste that mustard as mustard, but I just can't recommend it enough. I even put it in chili. I put it in everything. Okay, here we go. This would look pretty garnished with some chives or some fresh dill if I had it. I do have chives out in the garden, but I'm just way too bone idle to go out there and pick it. So, oh, I can see all those big lumps of crab. Oh man. This is good. This is good. I will definitely be serving this at a dinner party. Now I've got it turned off. I'm just going to let it steep here while I try to get together something for Roy. I just baked the chicken thighs, and I think I'm going to make him what we call a restaurant salad. I think I'll make him a nice salad with just a whole bunch of everything, whatever I can find in the refrigerator, and slice the chicken and put it on top. So Pat, I just want to thank you for enriching my life. Coming across your channel is something that just made my day that day, and it makes my day every time you upload a video. And congratulations, you deserve the attention you're getting, and I think your channel is going to continue to blow up, and just keep them coming. If you stayed till the end, thank you very much. But guess what? It isn't the end. I have a Granny Pat bonus. Now I have a bonus recipe from Pat. This was on her channel as well as in her cookbook, and it's called chili bun. And I certainly have never heard of it, and Pat herself says it's probably not known outside of Kentucky. I did some research on the internet, and it is an Appalachian recipe. Now, the chili, and I'm using the term loosely, and this is no criticism. This is just being a Californian who's lived in Texas for a long time. I would not call the recipe chili. It's something more akin to a sloppy Joe. It's very timidly spiced. And Pat says to use a specific chili powder that I had never heard of called, I would pronounce it Mahine, but in Kentucky it may be pronounced Mexine. And she said the difference is that it contained cumin. Well, I couldn't imagine making chili without cumin. So mine is spiced more like I would do a traditional Mexican American or Tex-Mex chili. I've used plenty of chili powder, cumin, oregano, garlic, cayenne pepper, and paprika. And I've also put diced onion in. And apparently the thing that makes it unique is that you smash the ground beef very fine. So that's why I would say it's more like a sloppy Joe without the extra chili seasoning. Now apparently there's a choice of condiments from ketchup to mayonnaise, which is what Pat likes, to mustard. Normally I would use only imported Dijon mustard, but this seemed to me like it should just have some regular ballpark yellow mustard. And I've toasted a hot dog bun, and now let me add the chili. Okay, I've added the chili and some chopped onion, and now I'm gonna serve it to my husband and see what he thinks.
What, do you like a hot dog?
Yeah, wait a second.
Huh?
Yeah, let me get started first. Okay, honey, this is called a chili bun, and apparently
Looks
if you
fantastic.
lived in, it does look good, doesn't it? Apparently if you lived in Kentucky during the Great Depression, you'd come across this.
Chili bun?
Chili bun.
I wonder how it got its name.
Well, it's chili on a bun, perhaps.
Maybe
I'm
that's
just
how,
guessing.
I guess.
All right,
Yeah,
tell
that
me.
makes sense.
Tell me what you think.
Okay. Well. That's good.
You like it?
Yes. I do.
You want a Dr. Pepper to go with that?
I have one.
Okay.
I'll need another one though. That was empty.
All right.
Yeah.